What are the terms of reference?
That it may be declared that the plaintiff is alive and is Kumar Ramendra Narayan Roy, the second son of the late Rajendra Narayan Roy of Bhawal. That a direction be given to the relevant authorities to issue to the plaintiff all the necessary identification documents, that the plaintiff's possession and ownership may be confirmed in respect of the 1/3 share of the properties described in the schedule of the court, that a decree or order be passed in favor of the plaintiff for the payment of compensation by the Court of Wards in respect to 1/3 share of the properties described in the schedule.
I'm John Lawrence Winterton. I'm 60. I live in 20 Park Street, Calcutta. I'm an artist and a photographer. The name of my firm is Edna Lawrence Calcutta. The firm was started in 1913. I've been in India for over 35 years. I was an assistant and later manager of Messrs. Bourne & Shepherd in Bombay and Simla. The photograph on the left, photograph 60, I took myself from life. The photograph on the right, 61, I copied from another photograph. To me, these photographs appear to be the photographs of the same person, taken in different periods of their life.
Please state your name.
I'm Shahidullah.
And what do you do?
I'm a photographer and a writer.
After examining the photographs, what is your opinion as an expert regarding the painting?
I'm absolutely convinced that their photographs are two different people.
Your Honor, I would like to declare Mr. Alam as hostile witness as he has deposed against the plaintiff. Mr. Alam, how have you come to the conclusion that the photographs are of two different persons?
I could have used many methods that are available to me, including facial recognition, but in this particular case, I had a much simpler solution. Could we have the scans, please? What I did was to draw the outline of the two images, and I compared the length of the earlobes, the relative ratio of the two earlobes on photograph 60 with the ratio of the left and the right ear in photograph 61. And according to my measurements, there is a 16% difference between the two images. In the photograph on the left, the ratio of the left to the right is 16% larger than in the photograph to the right. It's simply inconceivable that that sort of a change could take place in an adult over such a short time. The biological growth that would be required is simply impossible.
So, being a photographer, why do you think photography is still used as a vital evidence to identify a person? Particularly because you have yourself admitted that it is only valid under certain circumstances.
A photographer is a primary witness. That is why there is the perceived veracity of photography. A photographer is at a place where a scene is meant to have occurred. Therefore, they present evidence as a witness themselves. However, as a photographer, I know how photographs can be taken. I take pictures to make people look attractive. I take pictures to make people look the way they want to do. I play with light, I play with features, I know how to make a thin face fatter, a long face short. All of those are available to me.
So you're trying to say photographs sometimes lie?
Photographs do lie. Photographs have lied forever. Louis Hine in 1905 had this famous statement where he said, while a photograph may not lie, liars may take photographs.
In that case, what is the use of the photograph then?
Well, when I said a photograph lies, it's true that a president might lie, a revolutionary might lie, advertising people lie constantly. That is precisely the reason why the average citizen, why the disenfranchised requires photography, and that is in fact why I practice photography, because I think that person needs to be told that they need to combat this tool, which I consider to be a tool of oppression.
I'm James Hamilton Lindsay, and I'm 49 years old. What are you? Well, currently I'm the secretary of the School of Oriental Studies in London, but I'm a retired ICS officer.
Were you the magistrate and collector of Dacca? If so, when?
Yes, I was, from the year 1919 until the end of 1922.
Before the interview with the Sadhu, had you any information that he had been recognized as the real second Kumar by friends, relations, local people, numerous tenants, and outsiders?
Oh, yes, I heard that some people thought that they had recognized him. I think an elderly lady like his grandmother or someone. And then there were some peasants in Jodhpur and some outsiders.
So did you try and ascertain the truth or falsity of whether he really was the Kumar?
Yes, of course I did.
What is your name?
Non-limited.
What is your occupation?
I'm senior lecturer in history at the University of Exeter in England.
So, as a specialist of history of law, how does it connect you to be presented in this case as a witness?
Well, as you know, it's a very well-known case. It's well-known to scholars, but also to cinema lovers. For myself, my interest is in seeing how this case is a very representative one, in showing how state officials can hinder the due process of law.
So, due process is not due process. What does due process really mean to you?
Due process, although it's a technical term, is rather simple, really. And it's about there being a predefined and very clear set of rules by which we arrive at a legal conclusion. And these rules apply to absolutely everybody, and no matter who they are, even the king. And it's something really important to keep in mind and to defend, because state officials are very prone to forget this and to take themselves to be the law. In this case, for example, we see that Lindsay clearly thought that he was the law, that he was the investigator and the judge all rolled into one. He wouldn't listen to anyone, he used violence, he even shot on people who were demonstrating in favor of the plaintiff, and therefore he had impeded the fair process of collection of evidence.
Well, what you have just said, if I summarize like this way, the due process of law is equal to colonial inherence and fundamentally to control the citizen, as opposed to maintaining fundamental rights, which it itself means different things in different contexts. Would you still defend your idea of due process of law?
Yes, I would, because actually it's a fallacy to suggest the due process has any necessary connection with colonialism. Actually, every legal system has to have a set of predefined legal procedures, and following that ensures legal due process. And as you know, the phrase itself comes from the history of English law, from the Magna Carta itself. So the interesting thing is, when due process was being applied in colonial India, it was also being applied in Britain at the same time. And there, it was not impeding justice, it was ensuring it. After his death, I, my brother Shukto, two nurses and two maidservants were there in the room in which the Kumar died. Ashubabu, Virendra and Mukunda were coming and going. But I remained in the room. I spent the whole night there. Whether my brother Shukto was there throughout the night, I do not remember. But I was there until the corpse was taken down the next morning. The Kumar's body lay on the bed in which he died. I threw myself from the bed and I was weeping. The next morning, they had taken the body, taken down the bed and all. The second Kumar's body was never removed from his room throughout the course of the night. After it was removed, I saw it one more time. It was left on the garden, lay on a hearth, flowers were put on it. I could see the body from the upper story. The second Kumar's body was cremated on Sunday. On Monday, we left Darjeeling. After the death of the Kumar, I have taken over his share of the Bhawal estate. Since his death, I lead the life of a Hindu widow.
Thank you.
Ms. Bhawal, you have 15 minutes for processing and examination.
No. What is your name?
Samina Mitzvah.
What is your education?
I got a PhD in sociology.
What is your occupation?
I'm an actor.
So you are here to testify as Vivapati, but you know you are not Vivapati. Do you think you are qualified to testify as an expert?
To me, performance is how I see the world and also how I want to see it. So it's a political position. It's about realities. What was, what is, and what I can make it into a reality, to a more truthful one. So as a sociologist, we look at an individual from outside, but as an actor, we have to start from inside. So you have to inhabit. In order to be able to analyze the character of Vibhavati, you actually expose her and my truths and lies, but without judging.
My name is Percy Brown. I am 63 years old. I live at 23 King's Court, Theatre Road, Calcutta. I have looked at the evidence, and here you see before you exhibits 44, 48, and 65 and 66. They are not, according to me, the same person. I have compared them extensively. Now these are exhibits 45, 48, and 65. They are of the same person, according to me. These two exhibits are of another person.
Please state your name
My name is Ranga Alana.
and your occupation.
I am curator of the Alkazi Foundation for the Arts, and the photographs used in this particular case, as it was in the historical case, are from the archive that I work for, based in New Delhi.
Well, two photographs taken at the same man at two different ages, say a difference about 10 to 20 years. Would they not choose statistical moment in history which is continuously dynamic?
The photograph, according to me, is about an arrested moment in time. Now, how does one compare what happens in one point of time to another point of time, given there are several changes that occur? There might be physiological changes, there might be behavioral changes, and so yes, it is constantly dynamic. But perhaps the greater question is whether there is a philosophical task at hand, is that how do you actually measure the distance to your origins? And does the photograph actually justifiably create that journey explicit for anyone? Especially if that point of origin is constantly changing. That means a photograph taken at one point of time might be vastly different from another.
In your deposition as Percy Brown, you were told that the photographs were of the same man.
Yes, historically it was proved that they were photographs of the same man, but the fact that they are the same man is something that I don't necessarily agree with.
So you are trying to say photographs can also be deceiving like appearances, aren't you?
They can be, to an extent, especially in this case, because as we see in the case of the Kumar, the earlier photographs that were taken by his inviting the photographer into his midst. That means there was an environment of consent. He asked that individual to come in and take a photograph of an event. Now, in the second case, the state has actually sent the photographer to shoot him performing the role of someone he is meant to enact. So to an extent, there's an environment of coercion. And I think these two environments also create different kinds of context for the interpretive value of that image.
Your Honor, it is interesting to see that spot witness in their testimony said few things which were not in the actual trial. There is an undocumented person with no identity and no indexing of any matter. Everybody sees identity as a crisis, and they all suggest that there should be other methods to ascertain the identity of an individual. Everyone challenges the supremacy or authority of the state with regards to identity. There have also been arguments made out about citizenship and home, and especially the belonging, the feelings of belonging, the need, desire, and necessity of this belonging. The state is no longer a monolith. It has broadened itself onto a number of interests. Some of these interests can only be measured by effective registers as often occurs the time. Power is inherent to the state, but we see in our life experience of that the state, there is an ethical relationship. Or I would say there should be an ethical relationship that is negotiated every day. What then does it mean to decolonize ourselves? How might this translate into the everyday relationship the state has with its citizens? The weight of photographs, as evidence desired, despite strong recognition that the Evidence Act, it is a primary evidence. What is the role then? If it is not on its own good enough to be considered as an evidence, and it has to depend on so many other things. Based on what the expert witnesses said, it is my humble submission before your honor is that art and human sciences acts as an avenue to represent other dimensions of truth, which may not be represented in the normal process of assessment, because artistic presentations do not conform to traditional notions of legal evidence. Art, the human sciences, pushes the boundaries while continuing to be relevant to the facts that are contested. Art uses the literary mode of inquiry, including myths and metaphors, in order to make us pause and think of a different set of possibilities. I submit that these devices are what can make legal reasoning both resourceful and ingenious. After all, it is the intent of both law and art, human sciences, to aspire towards that. Accepting art and the human sciences as evidence on the same footing as other documents and mathematical formula presented by the scientists and experts expands the way that one considers multiple truths. This view forces us to confront an important question about law and its relationship to culture. What is law after all? Is it an ordering mechanism, a command structure, or is law driven by and a reflection of the culture of the people? If it is the latter, then influence of anthropology, history, sociology, and performance and alternate ways of considering existence is quite significant.